A very good evening and a warm welcome to the Business Roundup on another weekend. We are television bring you as usual another collection of latest happenings and developments in the business arena, easing your decision-making moments. My name is Ashingsani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Subcommittee for Investment Promotion appointed. Current import ban by Sri Lanka should be reconsidered, the delegation of German Industry and Commerce in Sri Lanka suggests. Country's old forts and railway stations to be given a new look to attract tourists, Subject Minister stresses. News in detail. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved the proposal to appoint a Cabinet subcommittee on investment promotion to expand the local and foreign investment facilities for an export and import substitution manufacturing economy.
Accordingly, Cabinet Subcommittee on Investment Promotion chaired by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa will comprise 15 ministers including Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, Ministers Douglas Devananda, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, Industries Vimal Veeravansa, Mahinda Amaravira, Plantations Dr. Ramesh Patrana and 7 others. Cabinet approval was also granted to get the assistance of 6 state ministers for the activities of the subcommittee, including State Minister of Money and Capital Market and State Enterprise Reforms, Ajit Niwad Kabral, and State Minister of Urban Development, Coast Conservation, Waste Disposal and Community Cleanliness, Dr. Nalaka Godaheva. Moving on, Cabinet approval was given to appoint an expert committee representing all relevant parties to formulate a new national trade policy. Subsequently, the Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to allocate plots of land from the regional industrial zones for the establishment of industries under the Regional Industrial Zones Development Program implemented by the Ministry of Industries. On the other hand, the Cabinet approval was provided to the National Policy Proposal on Natural Gases drafted by Minister Udaya Gammanpilla. Subsequently, the Cabinet decided to temporarily suspend the import of vehicles for a period of 1 year as there is a sufficient stock prevailing in the country to meet requirements. Addressing the weekly Cabinet media briefing, co-Cabinet spokesman and Ms. Dr. Ramesh Patrana added that there are vehicles which can be utilized for state institutions after renovations, and he said that 4,116 vehicles would be in working condition after minor repairs, while a total of 5,588 vehicles owned by state institutions were identified to be disposable. Thus, a Cabinet decision had been taken to hand over these vehicles after repairs to state institutions which require vehicles.
If my memory serves me correct, about 2,000 vehicle permits have been issued, probably by the previous government. Then what will happen to those permits?
I think Dr. P.B. Jasner very clearly stated the fact that we are not going to import vehicles for the time being, but those permit holders, they can use their permit to purchase a vehicle from the local market, deducting the value of the permit. So they have the chance of purchasing a vehicle from the local market, because we have seen that there are so many vehicles. The market is flooded with a lot of vehicles. So we don't see any need to import further vehicles. Two sides, actually, we have too many vehicles in the country. On the other side, we have a foreign exchange issue. So to curtail those two matters, so the permit holders can purchase a vehicle from the local market by utilizing their permit. The sellers will reduce the value of the permit.
Now, there was an assessment done, and according to the assessment, they come to the conclusion that the country has enough vehicles, taking into the consideration the turnover of vehicles for 1 year. If you look at some of the vehicle sales outlets, if you go and speak to them, they'll say this vehicle is for there for 6 months, 9 months, 8 months. So obviously, there are enough and more vehicles at the moment, according to the assessment, for about a year. As you know, that with the COVID pandemic, we have a serious issue of exchange and on all sides. So you need to have certain controls where the exchange is concerned and the balance of payment and the deficit to be fixed at a particular rate, and we need to adhere to it, and then we need certain cutting and chopping to be done.
Chief Delegate of German Industry and Commerce in Sri Lanka, Andreas Hergenrother, says that Sri Lanka has been recognized by the world as one of the low-risk countries to invest in business opportunities. He made these remarks delivering the welcome speech at a special session and a panel discussion on sustainable supply chains as driver for global competitiveness, which was held in Colombo last Wednesday.
Many of the Sri Lankan exporters today already fulfill the requirements, but they sometimes lack of the required documentation. And the documentation and the transparency of this documentation is required by the importers. On a certain level, as I said, it is required by law already, but on a different level, it is today already required by retailers and importers in the European Union and other countries. For certain industries in Sri Lanka, sustainability standards have been for a long time, they have been played for many years a very important role, and a very positive example is the apparel sector. Already in 2006, the Joint Apparel Federation initiated the campaign Garments Without Guilt, which was much related to labor and social standards, and it conducted to the fact finally that Sri Lanka was recognized as a low-risk sourcing destination. I think that was a huge success. It was driven majorly also by the large players.
Chief Delegate of German Industry and Commerce in Sri Lanka, Andreas Hergenrother, also said the success of the businesses depend on the mutual market access and requested to consider the abolishment of current import ban by the Sri Lankan government. The panel discussion has been organized by Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom and the Delegation of German Industry and Commerce in Sri Lanka.
We strongly believe that trade can only be sustainable if mutual market access is guaranteed. And we understand that we are currently here in a very difficult situation, but we hope that in the future we will also have an abolishment of the current import ban that has also harming a lot European and German exports, because as I see it, we have to be fair, we have to be open, and with this we both grow. For our side, we have been supporting Sri Lankan exporters since our beginning, since the start of our office. We have conducted many delegations in different sectors to promote Made in Sri Lanka as a quality brand, and we will also continue this for 2021. We already have scheduled delegations in the field of rubber, especially for the tire industry, in May 2021 to the world's leading show for tires. We have also programmed another delegation for the Fruit Logistica, the world's largest event for fruits, vegetables and spices, which will take place in March 2021 in Berlin, and hopefully COVID-19 will allow us.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa inspected the $250 million worth Elta commercial residential building project in Colombo, which is under construction, and he highlighted that constructions of this caliber will attract tourists into the country.
Following its completion, Alta building will be among the galaxy of tallest buildings in the Colombo city limits. The construction of the building commenced in 2012 in the 2.5-acre land adjacent to the Bere Lake. The ground floor of the building covers an area of 40,000 square feet, and it consists of 404 super luxury apartments in addition to a world-class shopping complex. Alta building complex has two towers, one with 68 floors and the other with 63 floors. Currently, up to 98% of the construction has been completed, and the President expects it to be concluded by next January. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa highlighted that constructions of this caliber will attract tourists into the country. Secretary to the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing, Sirinimal Pereira, Chairperson of the Urban Development Authority, Harshan De Silva, Director of the project, Pradeep Moraes, were also present for the inspection tour.
Central Bank's Governor Professor W.D. Lakshman stresses that the central bank is dwelling upon the establishment of a national entrepreneurship development bank and a permanent credit guaranteeing institution to back the domestic industries. Governor Professor W.D. Lakshman made these remarks delivering the 70th anniversary oration of the central bank last week.
Central banks have often provided part of the equity of development banks. Sri Lanka has a poor history of development banking. However, development discussions are underway in the central bank now to establish a national entrepreneurship development bank which could support SMEs and startups. Also under discussion is a plan to introduce a permanent credit guarantee institution. These are avenues through which central banks in developmental states have actively supported domestic industries to grow and become global giants. In addition to maintenance of the exchange rate at an appropriate level to support exports, capital controls and development finance systems have been used by these central banks to achieve developmental objectives. These methods were used effectively to bring down government's borrowing costs, to promote the development of particular economic sectors or industries, and to stimulate overall structural transformation of their economies.
Tourism Minister Prasanna Ranatunga says that government has allocated 167.64 million rupees to develop tourist attractions in several parts of the country over the next 4 months. Minister Ranatunga revealed that the proposed funds will be utilized under a number of short-term plans which were drafted to revive the tourism sector. According to the new short-term strategy, almost 19 million rupees has been allocated for the development of 12 tourist attractions identified in Kurunegala, Mattala, Mana, Kandy, Ampara, Badulla and Kegol districts. Explaining over the planned projects, Minister said that measures will be taken to modernize the Nigambo, Kandy and Kaluthura railway stations within the next 4 months. He also added that 14.5 million rupees have been allocated to develop the island-wide railway stations, attracting the tourists. He further added that Tourism Ministry has already modernized the railway stations at Elta, Hatton, Galle, Bentota and Unnavatuna under this project. In addition, the ministry has also allocated 29.4 million rupees for the development of the 3 old forts of Mana, Kalpitiya and Batiklo, which are under the supervision of the Department of Archaeology. The Tourism Ministry has also taken steps to train young people interested in the tourism sector in the coming quarter with allocating 29 million rupees. Ministry also revealed that they have already trained 1,050 trainees this year despite the COVID-19 pandemic, and another 1,220 youths have been identified from 14 districts for the training. The central bank report shows that the change in the Colombo Consumer Price Index measured on an annual average basis remained unchanged at 4.8% in August this year.
Accordingly, headline inflation as measured by the year-on-year change in the Colombo Consumer Price Index marginally decreased to 4.1% in August this year from 4.2% in July 2020. In the meantime, food inflation increased to 12.3% in August 2020 from 10.9% in July 2020, whereas non-food inflation decreased to 0.8% in August 2020 from 1.5% in July 2020. Consequently, within the food category, prices of coconut, vegetables and turmeric increased in August this year. However, prices of fresh fish and limes recorded significant declines during the month. The core inflation, which reflects the underlying inflation in the economy, remained unchanged at 3.2% in August 2020. However, annual average core inflation declined further to 3.8% in August 2020 from 4% in July 2020.
We will now take a short break. Welcome back after the break. United States Ambassador to Sri Lanka and Maldives, Elena Teplitz, assures that the United States stands committed in supporting Sri Lanka in its efforts to take appropriate measures against the COVID-19 pandemic and in the long-term capacity building efforts that ensure strong emergency response to crisis. She gave this assurance last Wednesday, donating 200 units of portable ventilator machines to Health Minister Pavitra Wanyarachi at a simple function held in Colombo.
In Sri Lanka, the United States has committed over $5.8 million in aid through the United States Agency for International Development. In addition, the US Department of Defense donated $80,000 worth of personal protection equipment to Sri Lanka's hospitals and over 48,000 pieces of PPE to the Disaster Management Center.
The United States, through the generosity of the American people and the innovation of American private industry, is proud to donate 200 brand new, high-quality ventilators to Sri Lanka to fight COVID-19 and to help with future need. The United States remains the largest single country donor to the response efforts globally, building on decades of leadership in life-saving health and humanitarian assistance. These ventilators will enable Sri Lanka's health providers to deliver quality care that could save lives. This donation also demonstrates the ongoing commitment of the United States to support the government and the people of Sri Lanka through this crisis. For more than 60 years, the U.S. government has supported Sri Lanka, investing more than $2 billion in sectors such as agriculture, environment, and natural resources, in addition to health, education, business development and trade, and good governance.
President of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management Sri Lanka, Jayantha Amarasinghe, states that the government should first analyse the key issues such as the capacity of the educational and vocational training centres in the country before reviewing the educational syllabus. Thus, CIPM Sri Lanka had made these observations, joining the recent Art Television's Biz RoundUp special edition discussion, which focused on human resource management of Sri Lanka.
If you really analyse our educational system, nearly about 600,000 students today, they are sitting for these O-level exam. And then out of which 281,000 approximately is sitting for the A-level. So then you can see 50% of these O-level students are releasing to the society, no one knows what is happening. Then when it comes to the A-level nearly about 281,000, 280,000 are sitting for the A-level. Out of which around 30,000 are getting selected to the universities. So then almost there are 250,000 A-level students. We don't know what is happening to them, where they are going, whether they are being focused or whether they have been, given the right choice, whether they have been given the right career guidance, we don't know. So as a country, we have to analyze and calculate the risk in terms of releasing this to exit. Now we have nearly about 10,000 schools. All these two exits are being released by all these schools. But currently in the country, we have only 1,300 vocational training centers. Yes. So do you think these 1,300 vocational training centers can accommodate the people are released by 10,000 schools? Answer is no. Then before the country is going to review the syllabus, they have to analyze their capacity, what the country required.
Now, a subject expert at investment institution First Capital Holdings will explain on the trading of the stock market for the past week with a detailed forecast for the coming week.
Towards the start of the week, we saw a lot of buying interest that emerged in the market as the market was in the green for a couple of days. However, as the market progressed and towards the end of the week, we saw a bit of selling pressure emerging in the market despite the expectation of a super September that was the past trend in the past couple of years. However, this selling pressure has been accelerating. We saw on Friday with the market declining over 30 points, and with that we saw retail, high net worth and institutional selling pressure coming back into the market, bringing the overall market down. However, turnover levels were healthy with across all days market exceeding the 1 billion mark, and on a couple of days at the start of the week market even touching closer to 2 billion rupees. If you look at the foreign side, however, the net foreign has been an outflow on a constant basis. However, over the last couple of days with even local selling pressure coming into the play, foreign participation has been significantly low.
Speaking further, First Capital Holdings highlights that the current selling pressure of the market will exist in the coming week but will be diminished towards the latter part of the coming week with the reduced interest rates.
With the negativity in the overall market during the end of last week, we feel that the selling pressure could continue into the upcoming week as well, with investors being concerned mostly about the budget deficit. With the announcement of a high budget deficit up to the first half of this year has been a concern for investors at a time where the new vote of account is also placed in Parliament. So with that, we feel that there could be a bit of selling pressure. However, considering the low interest rate environment and the attractive valuations that is there in the market, we are expecting buying interest to come back into the market towards the end of the week. Especially bargain hunters, high net worth individuals are likely to re-enter the market at selected counters, which could lead to the selling pressure being completely absorbed.
And that's all the news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at 7:45 p.m. Until then, take care. Good night.